With few exceptions, most people reach a stage in life when they're free to develop their identities for the most part, access information that reinforces their beliefs, congregate with like minded people, and form an idea of how the world ought to be. And along the way, there's the natural question of how to engage with those whom don't share the same beliefs. And that's what makes the lead's transition to full on MAGA, or at least some type of anti liberal, really puzzling. Not because he's a black man and therefore he must be a liberal and always vote for Democrats no matter what, which is how he described himself until his recent political awakening.
I'm black and I'm from the South. Now, if you black and you from the South, what are you gonna be? You're gonna be a Democrat or Republican. How you gonna be raised up? Not that you thinking for yourself, not that you done analyzed it, not that you've critically thought about it. I've been a Democrat all my life until it was like a decade ago they started moving away from us. Now it's yeah, we're gonna put some men in the girls' bathrooms. We're gonna allow these 16-year-olds to cut their titties off. We're the regular reasonable Democrat, like, wait a minute. And the Republicans are like, yeah, come on, what do you got to lose?
And not because it seems to contradict the nature of his work in the courts fighting for fairness and justice. It's really a contradiction to his whole existence. See, last year, the lead revealed that he was diagnosed with terminal bone cancer and was forced to slow down his YouTube uploads and his consulting business due to the emergency medical interventions that followed. Watching his videos in the wake of this diagnosis, it's apparent he's lost some weight, seems a bit more sluggish, and his comedic flair and sense of humor is rarely seen these days. So you can imagine my surprise when hearing the lead in one of his more recent live streams. This was concerning Shakari Richardson's altercation with her boyfriend in an airport. Hearing him talk about how he had no idea how the healthcare insurance industry worked, but he's been getting a crash course in navigating the system, especially concerning the expense of quality healthcare and living assistance.
Before I got my diagnosis last year, I'll be honest, I ain't really care nothing about medicine or healthcare because I didn't know about it. Like, you don't really care about stuff that you don't know about. And everybody here is going bankrupt on their Medicare. But do you know, I saw, you might have to fact check me. I saw in this certain country, the United States is paying for their free healthcare. Like, we're paying for their free healthcare while people over here going bankrupt.
This was a man who enjoyed the privilege of good health, being able to spend a lot of time building his physique in the gym, and building wealth in a lucrative, prestigious career. But until recently, hadn't really fleshed out his own ideas of politics to match.
Now, I'm from Decatur, all right? I was not born with a silver spoon in my mouth in terms of the finances, but I was absolutely born with a silver spoon in my mouth in terms of health. Let me hit you with the bam. Oh my God. Bam. And this was back in the days, guys, when guys didn't like taking pictures. I know it's Instagram and all this, but back in the day, guys, the guys didn't really like taking pictures, but your boy had the abs. I was just athletic.
Fair enough, better late than never. But for fuck's sake, dude, when you do make the choice or you're forced to make the choice of learning more about such a complicated issue, do so in good faith. Because how can you complain about things like the quality of healthcare and cost of medications, then vote and support the party and its leadership who literally defunded hospitals in their latest budget bill, the so called Big Beautiful Bill? Hospitals are being closed, doctors and nurses and other medical professionals are being laid off, and these people's entire livelihood is centered around taking care of people like you. Hell, Republicans openly brag about how they want to get rid of the ACA, the American Care Act, one of the centerpieces of Obama's reforms that makes it illegal for health insurance providers to deny coverage to people with pre existing conditions. You know, like terminal bone cancer. Thanks, Obama. Look, I'm not here to pretend that all Democrats and liberals have been on the right side of this issue either. Far from the truth. But on the whole, the liberal and conservative parties couldn't be more opposed on this topic, let alone all the other issues that would be of concern if you wanted to seriously understand the political landscape of the United States. This isn't a lack of information or intelligence on the part of the lead. This is purely emotional. On a final note, in that same live stream, the lead says he puts his faith in Trump because He's going to provide financial security as the US dollar crashes in value. And you know what the lead thinks is the golden ticket out of the economic mess that, ironically, the party of fiscal responsibility has brought upon the American people time after time after time? It's cryptocurrency. No, seriously, cryptocurrency.
I will say though, I will say this, and no one on earth except for Donald Trump. Donald Trump is going to make me and mine's wealthy. I will absolutely say that, guys. If you're into Bitcoin, if you are into Bitcoin, there is no man on earth that is going to give you financial freedom like Donald Trump and all these executive orders. And he's been pushing Powell to drop these dang interest rates down to 1%. And then all these companies are going to be able to get loans for the cheap. What is that going to do to housing prices? What is that going to do to stock market prices? What is that going to do to Bitcoin prices? Oh, what about XP? XP? Oh, fuck that. I'm talking about real, the real.